So I promised that I would have a follow-up video about my progress with the game side of things, having actually built the Linux computer itself. So I mentioned in the last video that I had a bit of an AV hiccup after having built the computer. It was a bit more than a bit. So here's what was happening. Hooked everything up and discovered that one of the splitters that I use to split the HDMI signal, so I have one cord going to my Elgato for gameplay capture, and one cord, and then one cord is continuing on the television, to avoid doing excessive unplugging and plugging back in of cables, had gone kaput. No pass through at all. So that had to be replaced. Additionally, the switch that I was using was having problems and not talking well with the Chromecast, not Chromecast, with my Linux computer, and also not talking well with the television. It's had some flickering issues. Little further investigation discovered that my television had decided, my old television, keyword here, had decided that it just no longer wanted to output anything at 4K, not just 4K UHD, just 4K in general. So I was like, okay, well, that stinks. So now what? Well, I thought, okay, it's still outputting at 1080p. That'll tide me over until, well, I did some research on televisions and found just the right one, and save that for payday and all this, that, and the other thing. And then the audio from the television decided now is the time to go all crunchy, like crackling, rasping, that sort of thing. And one of the things that was happening around this week was also Summer Games Done Quick was happening. So I've been planning to, just in general, when I was working on other stuff, to have Summer Games Done Quick on either on my computer or on the television. And with the television now out of order, basically limited me just the computer and only one screen on the computer. I'm like, all right, in that situation, then time to go get a new television. So long story short, ended up getting a new TV from Costco, in addition to also having to purchase a new splitter. So did that in addition to everything else and got everything set up. So, this included getting mods set up for some things as well. And we'll talk about that for a second. But first off, everything with games in Steam was generally working okay, with a few hiccups. Probably one of the biggest ones, there's this light here a little bit, was that the Heroic Games Launcher, or Game Launcher, which I was using to handle the games I have from Epic Game Store and, more importantly, from GOG, is having issues for me with handling games using controllers. My controller would not work with them at all. Games that I purchased through Steam would work with any controller, with my Steam controller and with, let me bring the Steam controller for a minute. This worked fine, but going through Heroic Launcher, not at all, which was a bit of a problem because one of the games that I installed from GOG that I planned to use to test things out, one of them, two of them I was planning to more focus on mouse keyboard or using a trackball in this case. But that was Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition and Divinity Original Sin. The other, Witcher 3, which is definitely was going for graphical horsepower. I wanted to play with controller because I like how the feel of the combat works with the controller versus mouse and keyboard. Unfortunately, there's Tor not talking through it all. I have submitted a ticket on the service on the Discord server for Heroic Games Launcher, and we'll see what happens eventually on that. I will follow up once I have more information on that and how that turns out. On the other hand, like stuff in Steam is generally working fine, and played a bunch of Balatro, played some Final Fantasy 14, played some Slay the Spire, a couple other games. Worked out great. We're here talking now about the Steam controller. This showed up basically when the last one of the things I purchased that showed up right before I came to do the build for the computer. And I was really looking forward, since it's basically meant to be a de facto Steam box, I was looking forward to see how this would turn out. And long story short, it turns out nicely. I have run into a couple of not so much issues, but some weirdness, not weirdness, but what's a different way? My complaint with this controller, and it's my sole complaint at the moment, with the knowledge that I'm recording this after having only really been using it for about a week, is that some controllers handle perspiration of your hands very well. In terms of it's a kind of hot and stuffy day, that sort of thing. Your hand, it's in your palm, they're starting to sweat a little bit. Some materials for game controllers, some of the Xbox Series controller is one of these. I'd argue the current PlayStation 5 DualSense also fits for this. They handle moisture on your hands well, where the controller doesn't become slippery in your hands. The Steam controller got a little slick, and I definitely had to grab because it's been warm these past few days. Okay, I actually go get paper towels, wipe down my hands, and not just dry my hands, but also wipe down the controller as well. Which was a bit of a bummer. It's one of the things that hadn't gotten discussed much in coverage of the Steam controller itself. Other stuff of note. I mentioned mods. One of the games that I installed and planning to try to get set up was Morrowind using OpenMW. And one of the things I was trying to get set up is the various mods I use. Some of them quality of life, some of them interface improvements, and some of them graphical. And on Windows, if you're using you could just use Nexus mods. Nexus mods will detect the directory, put everything where it needs to go, get everything set up properly. Nice, smooth, easy, simple experience. Linux does not have that. Not with Bazite, and not with any other distro. So you have to do it the old-fashioned way, which could be a pain, depending on how technical savvy you feel like you are or you are not. I'm kind of old school enough that I'm okay, I can read the instructions and that sort of thing, provided they're written reasonably well. That said, for some of these, the documentation feels like it is based on the idea that you are using the Nexus Mod Manager. Now, we're getting a version of Nexus mods coming out in the not too distant, supposed to come out later this year. That's Linux compatible, but specifically meant just for SteamOS and for the hardware and processor specs of the current model of Steam machine, not necessarily making any adjustments for, say, if you're doing a Intel built Steam machine, which is what I have. So that could potentially be an issue. Hopefully it will not, but it's something that I need to keep in mind. As far as how I'm enjoying things, it's only been a week, but Like, I have enjoyed playing games on this computer. Things have worked out generally well. I knew coming in that some games aren't going to work. I'm not going to play Honkai Star Rail in this. But on the other hand, I can play Honkai Star Rail on my PlayStation 5. I have options. But as a consoleized gaming computer, it generally works the way it's supposed to. And I'm pleased with that. Is it 100% everything is it the thing that will replace every console I have on my in my entertainment center? No. There will be a place for my PlayStation 5, for my old Xbox Series X that I purchased close to launch, for my Polymega, for my Switch, that sort of thing. And I'm still going to use a Steam Deck, because a lot of this thing with the Steam Deck is playing these games on the go, and then taking it back home, hooking it up to, then going to Steam on the computer, and continuing to pick up where I left off with the cloud save from there. As far as everything else, I'm definitely going to follow up on this later once I've had a few more months to use this. But it's looking like it's going to do the thing I intended it to do, which was it's going to take handle the heavy lifting for playing PC games from my other computer, which I can then use for just video editing, general daily use stuff, and when I want to stream these games, streaming PC games. In all, it has worked out pretty well so far. And again, I will follow up a bit later once I've had a few more months of time to spend with it. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe. And also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Toss me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.